Authentic leaders act according to their true selves. When leaders are true to themselves, their words and actions inspire trust, inclusion, and create an environment of psychological safety. This cultivates creativity, innovation, and most importantly, accountability. I entered the technology industry in the 1990s, and over the years, I have observed that the industry prioritizes and favors traditional leadership styles with masculine characteristics to be assertive, directive, hierarchical, and autocratic. Open displays of vulnerability and empathy are often seen as a weakness. On the contrary, vulnerability is a powerful display of strength in leaders. It requires a shift in mindset towards embracing one's own imperfections and acknowledging our limitations. Technology leaders with empathy create solutions that are meaningful and socially responsible because they're able to actively listen to and engage with their customers as well as employees. We need a new breed of leadership in the technology industry. C-level executives and top-level managers who are able to prioritize people and values. And I believe the way to do this is by embracing the strengths of authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy. Back in 2009, I was consulting for a global banking client. The pressure was on in the project. It was complex, we had very tight deadlines, and many of us were working long hours, 14-hour days, over 6 days a week for an extended period of time. Our client lead was an extremely passionate and driven perfectionist. Now, she was often very stressed, and this would spill over into loud outbursts and yelling during meetings, after which she could be heard crying in the restrooms. Many of our project team members avoided her because of this, and some people even feared her. It disrupted the project entirely. So I decided to take a different approach. Instead of distancing myself from her, I engaged with her empathetically to find out what her concerns were. It turned out that her stress was rooted in her passion for the work. This project had the potential to create an impact on so many people's lives and create a fairer financial outcome for them. And she felt disappointed by the project team's recurring mistakes and careless attitude. So once I understood her concerns, I could advocate for change in the project environment to better meet the client's needs. And once she realized that she had an ally in me, she could lean on me for support. And this reduced the stress. Together, we were able to redirect the project for a successful outcome. Now, this experience highlighted to me the value of authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy in creating meaningful relationships with people and producing successful outcomes in a technology environment. We need leaders who embody these values. And studies have even shown that this creates a more democratic environment where people feel valued and respected, and they're free to share insights and ideas. We need to overhaul the leadership in the technology industry and hold senior executives accountable for behaviors and values. And I believe the way to do this would be to implement a values contract, an industry-wide commitment to authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy. Just like we are mandating companies to report on environmental, social, and governance responsibilities, let's start tracking good values and hold executives accountable for it. So how exactly do we implement values contracts in a practical way? First of all, we need to normalize even having values contracts. Companies, when hiring senior executives, offer contracts and agreements, data privacy policies, IT codes of conduct. So why not offer a values contract as well? One that clearly states what are the expected behaviors we want to see in senior executives and have them commit to it. For example, open and transparent communication, prioritizing people in decision-making, as well as sharing mistakes while celebrating successes. Now let's make these values contracts public. So their commitments and the expected behaviors and consequences are openly shared with employees, customers, and the general public. In 2007, I was a project lead for a global reinsurance company. The company wanted to implement a new collaboration and communication platform for over 10,000 employees, and it needed a bit of mindset shift towards more open and transparent communication. Now, instead of taking the traditional route, the project team decided to try a new method. We identified influencers from every level across the organization, people with strong networks, and we asked them to sign a commitment agreement. It was a simple one-page document that said if they liked the tool and its features, they would advocate for it in their network. They became our pilot users, and news about the platform spread like wildfire. We didn't have to sell it to the people because people wanted access. This tool is still in use at that company today. Commitment breeds change in behavior. The influencers understood what was expected of them, committed to it, and delivered on that commitment. I've also worked with project directors who insisted that we sign a commitment agreement or a code of conduct before starting on any new client engagement. It was a simple one-page document, but it set the tone for what was expected in terms of behaviors and values on projects. And by signing it, every team member and the director committed to delivering on it. The outcomes were a more democratic environment where people felt positive team spirit and collaboration. And the outcomes were always successful, including financial success. Now, we have values contracts implemented. The next step is to find a way to track and measure commitments. Companies have quarterly reports and financial earnings, so why not include a values index reporting as well? One that tracks how well senior executives have delivered on their commitments. And let's link their compensation and bonus to it as well, just to make it real for them. A good way to track authenticity, vulnerability, and empathy in an organization is to set up a kind of Hall of Fame environment. This would be an open forum where employees and customers can share stories of demonstrable value. The stories, big and small, would indicate how well senior executives in the tech companies are delivering against their commitments. And let's make sure to share negative stories of negative behavior as well, without consequence. Now, this approach will force senior executives to become more self-aware and to start proactively trying to behave in a better way as well as demonstrate better values. Once we have values contracts and a way to track commitments, we need clear consequences. And this is the third step. We reward senior executives for good performance and financial outcomes. In the same way, there should be negative consequences for negative behaviors and values. I had an experience recently with a global tech company. An employee was on a group video call with his project team as well as the client project team. Now, during the call, on a private group chat with his project team, he started to write some really terrible things about his client. Unfortunately, this private group chat was shared with the entire group when one of the colleagues did a screen share. Of course, the senior executives of the tech company scrambled to issue a formal apology and send the client flowers, just to smooth things over, get the project back on track. However, internally, the senior executives joked about the incident with the employee. They laughed it off as insignificant, and there was no real consequence for the incident. So guess what happened a few months later? The employee repeated the same behavior on another project with another client. Senior executives are accountable for what is acceptable and not acceptable in an organization. They set the tone for this. And there should be consequences for bad behavior at every level in an organization. So senior executives are accountable for incidences like this to lead by example. So what kind of consequences can you have for senior executives? I mean, we could fine them, but they'd probably pay the fine without a second thought. We could fire senior executives in tech companies for bad behavior, but they'd probably get another job fairly quickly. We could go down the path of public shaming and cancel culture. We hear a lot about these days with social media and so on. This could be an option. However, we've also heard about senior executives in tech companies who are exposed for bad behavior, and they ride the wave of public shame, but still keep their positions in leadership. These consequences don't really work, and they don't bring lasting results. Instead, let's hit them where it hurts. I suggest for senior executives who demonstrate bad behaviors and values, let's demote them to lower ranks within the organization for a period of time to work off their values debt. Let's remind executives that positions at the top are not permanent and they will be held accountable. Just like in our legal system, drunk drivers are held accountable for getting into a car inebriated because lives could be at stake. Technology companies and the solutions that they create are responsible for far more lives. Don't you think it's fair that executives of these tech companies are held under the same scrutiny and accountability? So who should implement these values contracts? I believe it should be a shared responsibility. Regulators should mandate it. The companies and shareholders should execute on it. And we, you and I, should demand for it. The technology industry isn't like any other industry in the world. Technology has integrated itself into almost every aspect of our lives. It's changed the way we behave, operate, and interact. Now, emerging technologies like artificial intelligence are developing at such a rapid pace that regulators are playing a catch-up game to them. Big tech companies are entering almost every industry across the world, gathering a significant amount of influence for themselves. Now, as a result, there is a concentration of power towards these companies. And it's calling into question societal risks and democratic principles. Now, with so much at stake, we are dependent on the senior executives and leadership of these tech companies to use their power wisely. I believe they should be held at a higher standard of behavior and value. As a technology leader with over 23 years of experience in the industry, I have committed myself to leading in an authentic way, leveraging the strengths of vulnerability and empathy to lead by example. Now, this can be a lonely stance to take because it goes against the norms in industry. However, I believe it is crucial and so important, and every tech leader should consider taking a similar stance. Because you see, the most innovative technologies in the world, the most powerful technology solutions, they're only as good as the people who create and implement them.